The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. This is Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for the archive.
But we break on command 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. Let the countdown begin.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time to go for a ride with host Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I'm such a lucky guy 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. With a stare, 'cause women rule the world. We are the fighters, we control, we're always right, they let it go. Behind that pretty smile, they know that women rule the world. I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. Just to be there with you, and I still trip over my feet, and my heart still skips a beat. I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. Yeah, the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Hi, Tess. I'm so excited to be here. Well, it looks like they didn't even get the intro. I guess my mic was muted. But good evening, everyone. Oh, and Spaced Out Radio. Like I said, secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely. We're going to get into some really good stuff tonight. It is Sunday, June 3rd, June 4th for those of you on the East Coast and beyond. This is Spaced Out Radio, and I hope you guys really did have an awesome day and an even better evening. And I am your host, Tessa Thomas, live tonight from Phoenix, Arizona, as I am still stuck here on tranny issues. We are 150,000 strong nightly on SOR Radio, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, and we're live on Fringe FM. So make sure you check out the amazing programming at fringe.fm. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedout.com. You can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read Encounter Online, dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. And you can also check out some great videos from Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark, Contact TV. And tonight, like I said, we have Suzie Coggins. And I have to read this once more. Sorry, you guys. The mute button was stuck on. Reverend Suzie Coggins has dedicated her life to connecting people with their loved ones on the other side and to their angels. She found a mentor in Reverend James Soprinowicz from Lilydale, received a certification in advanced mediumship, and completed classes in interpreting tarot. Reverend Suzie Coggins has become an ordained minister and graduated from the award-winning Southwest Institute of Healing Arts and became a certified hypnotherapist and life coach. Suzie, how are you? I'm so sorry about that.
It won back.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to be here. And I'm really excited to be on tonight.
It's so great to have you. I hope you had a great week and weekend, and I hope I didn't stress you out too much with the last-minute invitation.
No, I love radio, so it wasn't stressful at all. I was looking forward to it all day today.
That's great. Me too, and getting ready, and I finally got this sound stuff worked out, except for the part where, I forgot to unmute myself when I was doing my intro, so hey, a little burp at the first ain't too bad, but we'll get going from there. So, Suzie, how long have you had this gift or known that you had this gift?
I don't really remember a time that I didn't think, when I was a kid, I always believed that everybody saw people who passed over. My mom was really open about these things, at least with me. And so when I would tell her Uncle Richie was there and she'd be like, honey, he passed away. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, remember the funeral? And I'm like, yeah, but he was here last night. And I would argue with her for a little bit. And then she'd finally say, you know what did he have to say? And I would tell her what he had said to me. And then she would be like, okay, dinner's going to be ready in an hour, so why don't you go out and play? So she never made it like a big deal at all, ever. And I think she was definitely very gifted. She was an automatic writer. And I really thought till I was about 10 years old that everyone had this gift until my next door neighbor was splashing me with holy water, telling Satan to get out of me. And then I ran home and I'm like, Mom, why'd she do that? And she goes, honey, not everyone sees dead people. And I'm like, it was actually a shock to me. And so that was my introduction into what people think about mediums. So for most of my life, I really kept it on the down low. I rarely told people that what I saw, but like every house I lived in was haunted. Like my one girlfriend wouldn't sleep over because she had this experience where the door slammed and somebody kicked it. Nobody was in the house. She was the only one there. She comes running downstairs. She's like, I can't sleep over your house. I'm sorry. And she never did it again.
Oh,
so
man.
So it's been my whole life that I've always, and my mom was always interested in it. She would take me to haunted houses. She'd take me to abandoned houses. She would take me to cemeteries. So I just really thought this world was normal until I started talking to other people other than my mother. And I found out a lot of people did not think it was normal.
Well, I have to say kudos to your mom for listening to you and supporting you. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are fearful about these things, but it's really nice to have that embraced and not shunned, and for you to be able to build on your gift.
Yeah, and it seems different because I teach classes on how to read tarot cards, and I am a tarot reader. I teach people how to read toes, and it's amazing how nowadays people will bring their children. They won't even think twice about it, and they'll be like, well, they'll be like, I'm coming to the class, can I bring my kid? And then they're asking me, well, are you going to charge me for it? And me, I'm like, I don't know, your kid could come for free. And, up to a certain age. But it's surprised I've had 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, I think a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and then, of course, adult kids too. But it's just so much more open nowadays than it ever used to be, at least from my experience.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on that. It seems like there's more acceptance, and I don't know if it's because of all the online paranormal shows that are going on, as well as on TV. I mean, there's so many out there, and people can pick, what their favorite would be. And so, yeah, it's nice that everybody's kind of gaining that more open-mindedness and acceptance of such things. It's pretty cool to have that going instead of people being like, that's the devil, you need to quit doing that. Hence, like you said, squirting holy water all over yourself. Or someone is doing that to you.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I just remember the holy water was running down the back of my neck, and it just dawned on me at that very moment. And I'm like, I don't think other people see or talk to dead people. Like, it was just so shocking that not everyone did it, to me at least, because it was just so normal in my life. And so for years and years, I really did not get into it. And then Spirit just kept pushing me and pushing me. I mean, I had a good career. I did something normal. And Spirit's like, you need to go and read for people. And I honestly did not want to do it for years and years. And so Spirit had to force me and showed me exactly how this affects other people. Talking to someone who lost a loved one and seeing the peace in their face and seeing the relief that they're not really completely gone. They no longer live in the physical body anymore. And they can contact them or they can feel them. Because what I try to do is I try to teach people what I do. Because I truly believe that just because someone's passed over and you love them and you talk to them every single day, that you have to stop having a relationship. Just because they don't have vocal cords anymore doesn't mean there's not 1,000 different ways they can communicate with you, such as butterflies or coins or getting like goosebumps up your shoulder or feeling a warm, gentle feeling coming over you. That's your relatives trying to talk to you. I truly believe if you love someone and they pass away, they're not truly gone, and we can communicate with them.
Yeah, that's a really great perspective. And my kids, they're actually psychically gifted, and I attribute that to my mother, which she's who I got it from, and who knows where she got it from. But I try to embrace it and nurture it and make them know that they aren't freaks, they're gifted, and a lot of people don't have this opportunity. And my she's not my youngest anymore, she's my second youngest, Nova. She feared it, and I tried to let her know, we're all going to be ghosts someday, and I know these feelings are kind of uncomfortable, but you should try to embrace them and understand that, and they're not scary. I mean, sometimes they appear to be scary from whatever their mortal injuries may have been, or what trauma they had been, induced to. But I try to nurture that so they can grow, because I stayed in the closet for quite a long time.
Because, when I was a kid, I was terrified of it too. It's so scary when you feel someone or something in the room and you can't visually see it. It's horrifying, especially when you're sleeping at night. You wake up, the room's dark, and you're like, I know someone's in here. And then when you turn the light on and you still feel it and you're scared. So my mom was really cool about it. She would always say, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, why are you freaking out? What's going to happen to you? And I'd be like, they're going to kill me. You know, I'm a little kid. What am I going to say, you know? And she's like, well, what sense would that make? Okay, if they kill you, then you're going to be on the same level that they are on, and now you're going to be mad because they killed you. They're going to be running from you. And she goes, think about it. She goes, you have a physical body. You can pick up a glass. They can't. Well, she goes, sometimes they can, but it's really hard for them. And she's like, they're more afraid of you, and they like to mess with you. And they like to, don't let them win. Don't let them freak you out. And she would just say, I think I do it different for my kids. She said, ignore it. And that was hard. But I would tell my kids, you know, you have to think of them as scared and lonely. And, you know, you have to have a little compassion for them. You know what I mean? And as kids, my daughter would still be like, no, just get rid of it. Get the sage out, Mom. She goes, get the sage out and get rid of it. So I did. My kids are pretty, like, they would know, or they would be like, okay, I think it's time to clear the house, Mom. You know, weird things are happening. So I made it a practice, because when you're working publicly with people, you're bringing stuff home, or you're not realizing, or they see that you can talk to them, so they gather around. And it took me quite a while, actually. After doing it for 10 years, I feel pretty good and safe, but for a while I was wide open, and I didn't realize until you realize what's going on. Then you find your practice where you protect your house and your family, you know. But sometimes they still creep through, you know.
Yeah, I think if they really, really need help, you know, they're going to seek you out, and they kind of do have that beacon. Like, they can tell when a person does or doesn't have the gift, I think. Because I know we have all sorts of spirits drawn to our house, and it's pretty interesting sometimes. The kids will definitely let me know, as well as the pets. Like, there's something going on here. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Pets actually were one of the best, because, I mean, people talk to me, but when a pet actually sees the exact same thing you see, especially cats, so, like, my one cat would hiss, because I'd feel something rush into the room, right? And it would startle the cat, and the cat would turn around. It would startle me, too, but the cat would turn around and hiss. And it was so refreshing, because no one else, something would rush into the room, and I would look at the person across from me, and I'd like, did you feel that? And they'd be like, no, but the cat felt it. And the cat would kind of lose it a little bit. My mom had dogs that would bark at spirit, but I never had any dogs that did that. You know, never had any dogs would feel it. Most of my animals, it's the cats that actually see and feel things.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My cat was darting his eyes around and actually ran like something scared him, and hid underneath my chair and kept darting his eyes, and his head would move back and forth and up and down and wherever this thing was going, and I couldn't see it, but like you said, I could sense it. But he was right on top of it. Dogs not so much, but cats have been known forever to be protectors from, you know, bad things, as well as the spiritual world with negative entities.
You know what I find interesting? Before I started doing this professionally, when dogs would see me, they liked me. When little kids would see me, they would like me. Handicapped kids would love me. I just had this thing that they would come up to me and start talking to me. And cats really didn't care very much for me at all. But since I've been doing it professionally, I think my team of spirit guides and angels that are around me, I beefed them up a little bit since I've been doing it professionally. And little kids act weird around me. Dogs kind of come at me now, like, oh, she's friendly to everyone. And I kind of wait for a second. And if the dog comes up and smells me, but a lot of dogs don't like me, and especially handicapped little kids, they'll look at me and like I wish I knew what they saw, but they see something. But cats love me now. Cats will come up and they'll sit in my lap, and I'm doing readings at parties and stuff. And the cats never bothered me before. They just didn't care for me. I find that very interesting. So I always wondered if other psychics had that kind of thing, or they noticed that, but so far I've got no answers on that.
Yeah, maybe they're embracing you because you're not hiding your spiritual gift, but sending it out to everyone. And one of my key
maybe
things,
that's what it.
Yeah, one of my key things is, helping people and raising them up, and on this side and the other. So maybe they see that in you and they're not so judgmental of you or whatever they may have been before. They kind of see what you're doing and they know you're doing good for others as well as yourself. So, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so, being you had these natural attributes and gifts, and your mother nurtured you and helped you progress on that journey, you also said that you found a mentor in Reverend Jane. What can you tell us about her?
Oh, Reverend Jane, she taught me a lot. I think I got really, really lucky with this mentor. I was in Western New York. That's where I lived, Buffalo, Niagara Falls area. And she teaches out of Pennsylvania, which was like 2 hours. It was a 2-hour drive. She was right on the border of New York and Pennsylvania in Erie. And I kept, because it came to me natural. I picked up a deck of tarot cards and I started reading, and I was making people cry. While I was doing the tarot cards, their uncles and their moms would come through. And this one lady, she's like, "What are you doing to protect yourself?" And I'm like, "What do you mean protect myself?" Like, I didn't understand. I just picked up a deck of cards and I liked to do it, and it seemed to affect people in a positive way. So I just went with it, and I did like house parties. It wasn't, it was just more for fun and, having a good time. And then finally, so many people started saying how you protect yourself. Oh, you're playing with fire, girl. You better watch out. So I started looking around, and nobody connected to me. And then randomly, one day on the internet, I wasn't even looking for anything psychic, anything spiritual, anything. It was something completely different. And Reverend Jane's website popped up on my thing. And I'm like, oh my God, she teaches classes. She teaches you how to protect yourself. She teaches you how to do all these great things. And so I literally drove 88 miles to go see her. It took me longer to drive there than her class was. Her class was an hour and a half, and it took me 2 hours to get there. But it was the best education I could have ever had. I meet so many psychics, and they'll be like, "Oh, I have the gift too." And I go, "Oh, so did you start your own business?" "Oh, I did it for a little bit, but I got burnt out and I didn't like it, and it was too demanding." And I'm like, through my mentor, I could read all day long. She taught me how to create an amazing sacred space, and all the people that you read for, they join you in that space. And when you're done, I split all the energy up. So if there's energy drawn from the reading, everyone takes a hit from it. But if there's a lot of extra energy, everyone gets a piece of it. We all share it evenly. Even my spirit guides and their spirit guides, everyone gets a little piece of the pie. So I could literally read all day long. And if I didn't have Reverend Jane, I don't think I could be the reader I am. So she taught me a lot of stuff. And what she taught, the most important thing she really taught me was that the fact that it doesn't matter what tool you use. You can read toes, you could read palms, you could read ears, you could read tarot cards, crystals, pendulums. It's the number one important thing is being connected to spirit. And that was a gift I had going in. She just fine-tuned it for me. And she taught me how to protect myself. She just did so much. And I'm so grateful that I worked with her, because I see that it's helped me immensely in my path and what I've been doing. There's no way I could repay for what she gave me. There's no way.
Yeah, it's really hard to find a mentor that sees your gift and helps you build upon it, because everybody's so busy these days with their own lives and, Uncle Sam being kept down by the man and whatnot. And so it's really cool that she found you and saw that in you and helped you build on that and, put you on your way towards your gift. You were also saying you went to the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and you were sort of, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. People around here call it SWIHA. Yeah, that's been a blessing. It's really interesting at Sweetheart. I was ordained by Casey Miller. I became a reverend there. I became a life coach, a hypnotherapist. It's kind of like a metaphysical school, but it's actually an accredited college. So it has all the courses. You can get an associate's degree, but I became a hypnotherapist and life coach. So it was really interesting. It's kind of a perfect melt between college and the metaphysical world.
Well, that's very neat. And you also do past life regressions. What exactly is a past life or lives regression therapy?
It's funny because that is one of the things I love doing now. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I really struggled with it. Although my mom, she was very much into the metaphysical, spiritual thing. My dad was Roman Catholic. He still goes to church, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he made sure that I had all the Catholic education. I went to Catholic school. And so when I come into this world and I start right from the very beginning, when I was reading tarot cards, I'm like, oh, do you have an issue with this or that? And they're like, yeah, I do. I go, well, that came from a past life, right? And in my head, I'm talking to spirit. I'm like, I don't believe in past lives. What are you guys talking about? And they're like, is this your reading, Susie? And I'm like, no. They're like, be quiet and just tell her what we're telling you. And I'm like, all right. So even when I was doing it, I'm in spirit, and what spirit asks me to say, I say to that person. It's your spirit guides and your angels, and they're telling me this stuff. So I didn't really question it. But when I went to Sweetheart, Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, I studied hypnotherapy, and they had this class called Past Life Regression. And once I get in there, I'm like, oh, this is, I kind of understand what's going on because of my readings. But I truly believe past life regression is one of the most powerful, quickest healing modalities you could ever come across. I've worked with people that have had weird, crazy phobias and fears, and they don't know why they have it. Like this one woman comes in, and she has this horrible fear of the beach, and she doesn't understand why. She goes, she took years to save up for this vacation, this huge family vacation. She took her husband and her kids, and she gets to the beach, and she is panicking the whole time. She gets into the hotel. She's panicking. She goes, when I take a shower, I go in the pool, I go to a river, I don't have any issues. So we take her into hypnotherapy in past life regression. She goes to a lifetime where she was killed in a tsunami. And she was holding, it was very vivid. She was holding on to her child, and she lost her child. And then she watched the baby tumble away in the water, and then moments later she died.
I can't even imagine that.
It was crazy. She was so vivid. She was crying, and then I get her out of it, and she's like, okay, let's test this. So I gave her some anchors and some different tools to help her deal with it, help her through the anxiety. And she goes, Susie, you would not believe it. I went out to the beach. I ran into the water. Me and my family had a great time. I had no fear at all. It just went completely away. Completely. And that's what I mean, I'm sure there's people that need more than one session or continuous sessions, but from my experience, and this is just me, most people, once they see where it comes from, they let it go completely. And I always use this example. I remember one time I had a sinus infection, and it affected my eye. And of course, I go to the worst case scenario. I'm like, I'm not feeling good. My eye feels like it's popping out of my head. And of course, I have a brain tumor. That's the only possible outcome.
Yeah.
I go to the doctor, and he kind of laughs at me. He goes, Susie, you got a sinus infection. Right? Instantly, as soon as he says that, my pain goes down by 75%. I'm like completely calm. I'm okay. I get my antibiotics, and I'm fine. But that's what it reminds me of past life regression. Because when you don't know where it's coming from, it even feels worse because now you're crazy. There's no reason I should be have an issue with the beach or dating people. This one woman I had, she every time she would date someone, about 5 months in, she would either break up or they would break up. She never dated anybody. She was in her 40s. She didn't date anyone over 6 months, ever. And so I take her into a past life where her father and her husband arranged the marriage, but it was normal in those days. It was like in the Middle Ages or something. And so she gets married, and like a week after she's married, she goes home and she's like, I can't do this. He's horrible to me. This is not a good thing. And her father's like, honey, this is a business arrangement. We combined all our land together. We can't get out of this. You need to go back. So I think she stayed there for about a month, and then finally her husband came to get her, and then the father's like, you got to go. So the whole family went with her and stayed at their house for a little bit, and then she leaves. Exactly at 5 months, she killed herself. She goes, that was the only way she was ever going to get out of the marriage. So after that, she thought, I want to break up with someone because I don't want to be, because the only way I can get out of a relationship is that. And so she emailed me about a year later, and she's like, I've been dating someone for 9 months. She was so excited. She was so happy, you know. So I feel like it just really helps get rid of patterns. And I think when people go into it for the fun aspect, who did I know in a lifetime, that's really weird too. Because you can be, your father could have been your sister in another lifetime, or your father could have been your husband. Like, there's no like rules when it comes to that. And I've seen almost everything. Some things are just, you're like I think this one girl, she married her brother. But she didn't know him in this lifetime. She met him, but in a past life, her husband was her brother, you know? So, and we flip back and forth from male to female. And so it's just very interesting. And so, I don't know, it's very interesting to watch it. And it's, to me, my favorite part is to watch somebody just carry around this huge boulder of, I have this fear, I have this phobia, I don't know what to do with it, and they just drop it off, and then they start their whole new life. It's very interesting to me. Have you ever done past life regression?
I haven't, and I've had friends tell me so many good things about it. But, you know, raising 5 kids, because we basically adopted another, I really don't have time for myself, but it really does interest me. And I know we had talked before about when I was a kid and had those reoccurring nightmares, and I wasn't sure if that was from how unstable my life was at that moment, or if it was a past life memory, but it seemed to absolve itself when my aunt and uncle, which my aunt just adopted me, not last week, but the week before, here in Phoenix, Arizona. It was wonderful. It made me so happy. I cried happy tears, you know, because it's good to belong and feel like you do have family, even though I knew they were there before. I've had people try to take me from people and say, you're not family, and I just kind of wanted to cement that in there, you know. But you were talking about this lady and her fear of water, etc. What kind of disorders can be treated with past life regression therapy?
I can't imagine that it would be really hard. I mean, if it's something you can't find a reason for, okay? So if you almost drown in a pool and you're afraid of water, well, past life's not going to help that. That's something you happen in this lifetime. Although in past life regression, I have had people where they had things happen when they were super young and they don't remember it. So when we do past life regression, we stop in this lifetime first and we unravel it. And a lot of times, if we haven't resolved it in that last lifetime, we'll bring it into this lifetime. But I feel like most phobias and fears and I went to a past life where I had gotten stabbed in the abdomen like 5 or 6 times. And I was sleeping. It was in the middle of the night, and they left me there to die. In this lifetime, I've had phantom pain in that area forever. I've had so many surgeries, like, you know, because if anything goes wrong in that area, it's just amplified. And when I figured out where the past life came from, the pain went away. It just stopped happening. You know what I mean? And so I haven't had a surgery in that area since I found out what had happened to me in that other lifetime. So I can't imagine that there's any real limit to what you could help with it. But I feel like when I hear, I don't know why I do this, or I don't know why this keeps happening to me, I don't know why I'm afraid of this, the little bell goes off in my head and thinks, maybe this came from a past life.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. I finally realized a couple years ago that I was subconsciously destroying my own happiness because I had this subconscious thought that I didn't deserve to be happy. So at a certain point in time, like you were talking about before with this other client that you had, I would get so far down the road and then I would just sabotage it somehow. And when I finally came to that realization, I was able to break that pattern and to move on from that. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes to hypnotherapy. When I learned hypnotherapy, it's your subconscious mind controls everything. And your conscious mind only wants to survive. You know what? If we lived yesterday, we're going to do everything we did yesterday because we want to live today. That's the job of your conscious mind here and now. But your subconscious mind, if you want to know what your subconscious mind believes, you need to look at your bank account, look at your paycheck, look at the car you're driving, look in the mirror. Like every part of your life is what your subconscious believes. So if you're like, I really want to be a millionaire and it's not happening, it's because your subconscious mind does not believe that you can be a millionaire. So once you unravel that, then you can actually start making the steps to get forward. And that's the trick of it. How do you get to your subconscious mind and unravel that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of, you just have to open your mind and listen, really, or just realize things like, here's this pattern that keeps repeating itself. What exactly is happening? I'm not consciously doing this, but subconsciously, I'm just killing it, you know? It's funny how that comes through because they say, you know, we only use 10% of our mind, and I believe our subconscious is so powerful because it knows what we can achieve, but we don't, and so it just kind of tries to work during our dreams or during our kind of zoned out or unawake state during the day when we just kind of zone out and wish we were taking a nap, but it's pretty interesting.
You know what the interesting part is? From the day you're born until about 5 or 6, your subconscious mind, you don't have a conscious mind. You only have a subconscious mind. So you remember your past lives, and you remember, you could actually hear your spirit guides. That's why your kids can see spirits. You know what I mean? That whole world is opened up. And at every day that we get older, around 5, 6, sometimes 4, that all shuts off and it splits in two. It splits to your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So a lot of the rules and why you run why you run your life the way you run it is something you thought or learned when you were 4 or 5. And to me, that's amazing. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to deconstruct or add to that, you know?
Yeah, and they say the most impressionable years of your life are before the age of 5. And so that's why it's so important to love and nurture and understand and support your kids at that age, because after that, you know, they're basically set in their ways, even though they're so young. It's hard to break that pattern for them once they get older and they know what they've learned and they try to put it into action in their lives. And So you got to be careful those first like 4 or 5 years.
See, I didn't learn any of this until my kids were older. So I really had to, because then I felt guilty. I'm like, oh my God, I had no clue what I was doing. The thing that, is like, my sister used to tell her kids, stay out of the pool when no one's around. I see why she said it, but like, sharks are in there, all these crazy things. She did it for a reason, but you can change those subconscious things through meditation, through guided meditation, through hypnotherapy, or prayer. That's another thing. A lot of people like work out, and to me, that's a form of meditating. So if you're single-minded on something you want to change in your life, and you use meditation or you use hypnotherapy, I truly believe that's the fastest and quickest way to get there. But sometimes our beliefs are just so, they're like locked in, and you're so afraid to change because you have this belief that, you'll melt into a puddle if you change your life. It's really hard to get through that. But if in your own mind you meditate and show yourself, you know what, if I do this, other people have done it, and it is safe, and you're not going to melt into a puddle. You know what I mean? So I do believe that if you meditate long enough, or if you really have a single-minded focus, eventually you can change anything about yourself. That's the cool thing. Yeah,
it does. It really does focus around focus. You have to focus yourself in order to pertain certain things. And, if you're on drugs, like I have a brother we had to deal with this family trip back to Arkansas. We drove from Phoenix to Arkansas, and it was a 3-day, which turned into a 4-day trip, because every time we'd stop somewhere, he'd take an hour. But he's on these drugs, so his point of interest is, the next high. So every time we'd stop for a break, it would take an hour each time, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're trying to get somewhere. And we had a falling out, but, on the way back, I could really tell he was trying, and he wasn't taking that long at all, and he was really trying to be there for us and not be so selfish. And my sister was just, after my uncle and her dad's funeral, it was the uncle that raised me. She's like, okay, you made the funeral, I'm done. I can't take this abuse anymore, because, as well as I and other women and men, we have been in abusive relationships, and you kind of come to a point where you're just like, this has to stop. We can't do this anymore. But yeah, it was really hectic. Like, being in a car with family for that long in that short amount of time was just, you shouldn't do that. I do not recommend it to anyone.
The joke is with Buddhists, they say, oh, you've learned everything you need. You found peace. You found enlightenment. Now go spend time with your family and see if you really have.
Yeah.
That's a good joke,
Let's test it and see, do you really have this under control? The family is where you really see where it is.
I truly believe people that are really into drugs and drinking or into that ultra, I have to get my mind out of the real world. I truly believe that they are very intuitive and very psychic. And I was lucky enough to have a mom that kind of helped me down the road with that. And as an adult, I think I was starting to slip. I don't talk to too many people about this, but why not do it here? I used to be a really heavy drinker, and I'm not saying that I probably would have been a drug addict, except I always seemed to switch up. My uncle was a heroin addict, and he ended up committing suicide. But he was the first person that I started talking to on the other side on a regular basis. We had a long relationship, and I truly believe he saved my life. But because of what I saw him go through, I would never stay on one drug long enough to become addicted to it. But I definitely was in this place of finding that altered reality, so I didn't have to deal with the here and now, because when you're an empath and when you're connected to spirit and you feel things in a different way, and the people around you don't feel it, you want to shut it off desperately, and you try and try and try and try. And my life went upside down, backwards. I was suicidal. I had a lot of stuff going on. Although, because a lot of people who committed suicide would come and seek help from me. Like all my life, I would never commit suicide, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And when I actually started doing the tarot cards and stepping into my spiritual being and then working with Reverend Jane, I learned how to control the world around me that nobody else saw, and it did save my life. So I truly believe if people would look at people who are having addiction problems and say, man, this person's highly intuitive, and treat it from that point of view, I wonder how different the results would be. Because once I learned how to turn it on and off like a light switch, my whole life changed because it was on all the time, constantly, 24 hours a day. I'm hearing things, I'm feeling things. At points I could hear people talk, and when they were, and it wasn't always like flattering stuff. I could feel and hear what they were thinking about me, and especially if it was negative. And how do you live in that world? You have a lot of anxiety. And one thing about anxiety I noticed is, you know who the Long Island medium is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she went on Dr. Oz, and it was really interesting. And they put a scan on her brain, and they scanned her brain waves before a reading, during the reading, and after a reading. I think it's still on YouTube. But the interesting part is the guy who analyzed her brainwave looked at it and said, her brain mimics someone about to go into a seizure. And I heard that, and I swear to God, the skies parted, and I'm like, oh, thank you. I needed to hear that all my life. Because when Spirit's trying to connect to you, it creates all this crazy energy. If you're about to go into a seizure, how do you think your body would react? Maybe your breathing would go off. You're feeling scared, like something bad's going to happen. Your heart starts to race. You can't breathe. And so Spirit's trying to give you messages, and you don't really understand that. And that's how my whole life was until I actually learned, like through Reverend Jane, how to either connect into it at that moment or say, hey, guys, you know what? This is not the right time for you to give me a message. Tomorrow when I meditate or tonight when I meditate, you can come in. So I disconnected to it. But previous, I would go drink or I would do drugs, and I would learn how to shut it off that way.
Yeah,
but
dull it
I feel
down.
like but if I would have known it was just my spirit guides trying to talk to me, I'd be like, okay, dude, enough. I can't do it right now.
Yeah,
you know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So I do believe, and I feel like, and I've seen this vision a few different times, but I do believe in the future when people are hardcore addicts and they keep trying to help them, I would wonder if they have like mediums or psychics in these healing rehab places, and have the psychic or the medium teach them how to deal with their intuitive energy. To either, because you don't have to live like that. I chose to step into it and make it a career for me, but I can easily have shut it down, or at least how to control it. You know what I mean? And I do believe that would alleviate a lot of the drug problems in this country, or the drinking problems, because I do believe that most people that are in that situation, I can't say all, but most people that I got to know after a while, and I've known a lot of drinkers. My father owns a bar in Western New York, so I spent 18 years bartending too. So I've dealt with a lot of people, and I tell you this much, most of the people I know that are the heavy drinkers, and in private times, I would confide and tell them, and they'd be like, I know what you went through. I see the same thing, or I hear the same thing. So most of the people that are in that situation, I truly believe are highly intuitive, or they're kind of in denial. Like, no, that's not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're either
trying to shut it down.
Yeah, they're either highly intuitive, or they're going through a great amount of pain and they're trying to kill it, you know?
Yeah.
Let's dull it, but in reality, it only amps it up. Like, you don't get rid of that thought. If you're on speed, it only makes it go through your head a million times more. You can't make it go away. And if you're drinking, you know, once you come back from that drunkenness and you wake up, it's still there. You don't get rid of it. It still follows you. Even if you move to another town or wherever to get away from it, It's always there. No matter where you go, it's there.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it internally and get rid of that and fix it, medicate yourself with psychology or Buddhism or whatever your faith relies upon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way.
I truly believe that meditation is my rehab. I'll tell you that much. It did. It saved my life.
And it's hard for me to meditate. It's really funny. My life is just so busy, so I just do the zone out thing. Like, I'll zone out for a little bit, stare at nature or animals frolicking and playing or whatever, and have that, like, blank mindedness for a little bit just to get rid of that overactive inactivity,
Yeah. One of my huge pet peeves is meditation, because I feel like when you think of meditation, what do you think of? Somebody sitting on a lotus style, and shutting their brain off. I do not believe. My form of meditation for years and years was walking my dogs out in the woods and dancing. If anyone would have caught me on video, they would have made millions of dollars, because I can't dance and I can't sing. But
it would have gone viral.
It would have. They would have made a ton of money. But it sounds really crazy, but that was my form of meditation. It was escape. I escaped from the real world. I connected to spirit. I felt alive. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I would get amazing messages. So when you're doing something that makes you feel so good that you could do it forever and hours, and you're not worried about your phone bill or, what's going to happen tomorrow, that is meditation. And it's crazy because my mother-in-law, her thing is cleaning. That's her form of meditation. I mean, she came over and I go, does she think we're slobs or something? Why did she come over and clean my house? I didn't get it.
What the heck?
And then, I know. And he's like, well, she just does that, and then when I talk to her, I'm like, oh, this is her form of meditation. And I'm thinking, sister, you want to come over and meditate at my house? You can come over every day of the week. I don't really care. I loved it, right? And those coloring books that are, I don't know if they're popular, but they were popular for years, adult coloring books. What is that? That's a form of meditation.
Yeah.
Singing, painting. So I want to say you frolicking with your animals in the woods is probably your form of meditation. Because didn't you say that's one of the things you like to do?
Basically just zoning out on it, animals or nature or whatnot. I really, really like to go out of the house, get away from the kids, and go dancing. And I think that's my form of meditation or release for me.
Exactly. And so So what you want to do is, if you want to harness that meditation or dancing, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you're like, okay, I'm going to find my freedom, I'm going to go hang out with my girls, but tell spirit, in the middle of that, if you need to give me a message, I'm open to it. But when you're connected to spirit and you feel free, that's when it connects into you. And that's when you can get a lot of really good juju and a lot of really good information. I think it heals people, and I think the farther you walk away from meditation, the more miserable and the more, your body starts to break down, your mind breaks down. But I feel like if everyone can have a different form of meditation, there's no right way to do it, there's no wrong way to do it. But if you start using it as a tool and harnessing it, I feel like anyone can change your life and make miracles come into their life. I truly believe it. But first, number one, and I don't think a lot of people teach this, you have to find your form of meditation. And a lot of guys, it's like going to the gym and lifting weights. I noticed that. Some guys, it's golf. Other people like running. That's another really good meditation. So whatever it is for you, don't judge it, and that's your form of meditation.
So basically you're saying just do it.
Just do it. Whatever, if it makes you feel good, do it. Because if you really listen to the law of attraction, everyone that teaches it, the number one thing is what? Feel good. And that's, if you're feeling really good, that's probably your form of meditation. And I wouldn't judge it. If it's window shopping or it is shopping, that's your form of meditation. Hopefully you can afford that. But maybe you have two different types of meditation. But I really believe as long as it's healthy and it makes you feel good and it doesn't harm anyone else, I truly believe that is what you need to do.
That's very good advice. Here in the chat room, we have a question from Craig, and he asks, when you had a spirit of people who committed suicide come to you, what are some types of feelings you'd get? And we only have a minute left before we have to go to break. So maybe touch on that for a second, or...
We can follow that up when we come back, because there's a lot of information. I'd love to talk about that, because that was, as a medium, I don't know why, but as a very young kid, I would say probably all, I can't think of any natural deaths that I remember. Almost all the deaths I had that came to visit me up until I was like 18 were all suicides. It was rampant. And even the fact of the one spirit that committed suicide, he actually not forced me, but he opened my eyes to actually do this professionally. So I would love to go into detail about that after the break.
Okay, well, we're going to break right now, and we'll be right back here in just a second with Suzie Coggins.
Perfect.
And you guys, keep your questions coming. We'll be right back.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens, or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from Euphoria Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. It's hour number 3 of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. Follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now back to the Rocky Mountains. Here's Tessa.
Hey guys, we're actually back, and we're in Arizona, so we're not in the Rocky Mountains. It's much, much hotter here. But we're back with Suzie Coggins, and we're going back to the question, do you get any particular feelings when you get a spirit of someone who committed suicide?
Well, it's always been a different experience. My very first medium reading was a suicide. I was very, very young, and he didn't scare me. He wasn't freaked out. He was very peaceful. But I was a little kid. I don't think he would have came in and tried to scare me. He wanted to give my mom a message of love and appreciation for everything she had done for him. And so, but it's always different. The worst one was, I was a friend. Like I said, my dad owns and still owns a bar in Hamburg, New York. And I had met a friend there, and he was a regular, and he got wrapped up in crack, and he was very, just like lost. And he ended up sitting on railroad tracks until the train came. He was the worst. I remember spiritually, I really didn't know anything. And so I didn't know how to handle it or deal with it. But there was a lot of screaming, and the best way I can describe it is he was the one who really I would never do that to myself. I would never kill myself because of what he went through. And he came in, and he was just screaming, and I'm like, stop. I just kept telling him, stop, what are you doing? And it was almost like he would run past me. If you could think of the most horrible thing that scared you, and it was just chasing him. And I kept saying to him, I'm like, do you see a light? And he didn't want to go into the light, and he wouldn't do anything. And so what happened was that, I don't know what happened, but I just kept begging him to go into the light. And I truly believed, even back then, that there was peace and harmony and forgiveness in the light. And then he went away. That was the oddest one. I truly believe if we are afraid to go into light, we'll spend some, but I never saw anything like hell. I've never seen anything like, forever. I truly believe that you can be a ghost, and I feel like ghosts are lost souls that are afraid to go into light. And so I feel like eventually everyone will get into the light. I truly believe that. But it's all different experiences. Some are very horrible and very scary, and other ones are kind of peaceful. But I definitely feel usually people who cross over have very little regret. They go into the light, they review their life, they come back to visit and give messages, and they're pretty much at peace. But with the suicide, there's a lot of regret, and it can be scary, but the weird part about it, everyone that committed suicide I knew as a personal friend, or I loved them as a relative, you know what I mean, or someone I knew and loved and cared for. So it wasn't horribly scary, but I definitely feel it was way worse on them than me. And from the very beginning, I don't know how I knew when I was really, really young, but I knew there was someplace else. I think when I was real young, I would be like, why don't you go to heaven? Well, like, why are you hanging out here? And because my mother did actually give me enough of an education. But I just feel like every single time is different. And I've heard a lot of theories about suicide, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying I don't experience it. I've heard that once you commit suicide, you go right back into a fetus, like you go right back to come back to be reincarnated. I don't know if I believe that. I've not seen that.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not saying it's not true, but I just have never seen it. I've never seen any hell-like thing. I think losing your life and walking around on Earth, watching everyone else enjoy life, do things, and you're kind of like a bystander, an audience member, not really ever being able to participate, I think that's hell. You know what I mean? So, but for some reason, a lot of spirits will not go into the light, and they all have different reasons for it. But I just feel like with the suicide, I can't tell you that there is one particular way it's come through to me. It's always different, most of the time. And but I feel like they all had regret, except for one guy. One guy who committed suicide, I almost feel like, I truly believe we have contracts. We come here to experience something and learn something. And I might even be wrong with maybe all suicides are contracts, but I don't believe that either. I believe that if you kind of, go out too soon, now that's very difficult because now you have to feel the pain and suffering of everybody that you left behind, which is, I just can't imagine going through that. I really can't.
It is really difficult losing someone to suicide. I've had several friends do it, and I am a paranormal investigator, and I came across a ghost that had committed suicide. One in particular named Kate Johnson, and I've told this story before. She killed herself because her fiance, the firefighter, was stabbed by the brakeman, and he stabbed him to death, and then he was thrown off the train. Kate felt guilty for being there. She felt like had she not been there, it wouldn't have happened. And so she moved on to California, and she tried, but it just didn't work. And she grew up Catholic. She had this really bad guilt complex, but she ended up ingesting muriatic acid and killing herself. And she was stuck on this train car, and we were actually able to help release her, finding her information, her religious upbringing. A Catholic school class came in and said a release from purgatory, and she was gone for about 3 months, and then she came back to help Emmy, a little girl ghost that was there. And so that was really gratifying for us to be able to help her. She left, and then she came back 3 months later due to free agency. But do you believe that it has a lot to do with our belief system? Like what we truly believe in our hearts to be true is what our heaven and hell is on the other side?
I would believe so. The thing that I've done this a lot, and Spirit will tell me what it's like over there, but it's almost like maybe I might know what the waiting room looks like over there. But they tell me experiences of different things, but I've never really gotten a complete handle on what happens. But I can't remember one spirit that has crossed over into the light that said it was bad. I mean, they all said it's a great experience, and sometimes reviewing your life is very, very difficult. But I'm so relieved because I guess when I watch those, when they go and check out haunted houses, my feeling is as I'm watching them, I'm like, why are you not releasing them into the light? Why are you not helping them? So I'm so glad that you do that. I was kind of wondering about that. Well, I was going to ask you a question. So of the hauntings and the spirit releasements that you've experienced, what's the ratio from male to female for you? Like how many do you feel? Okay, answer.
For the most part, we've had male entities. Few of them are female. And I'm not sure exactly why. And I really haven't thought about it until you actually asked me to do that ratio. But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, maybe because I noticed it's about 80% male and like maybe 20% female, but I feel like I'm even being high on that. I would say under 10%. And I guess where I came from this theory is when I went to Reverend school, I had to learn about all types of different religions. And Kabbalah is very interesting. And you, as a female, can't even study Kabbalah. So I guess I went against the rules. And why they believe that is because they believe that the female is born naturally spiritual. They're already connected to spirit. So very few females, when they pass over, are like, oh, no, I want to hang out here. I'm afraid of the light. No, they're like, there's the light, and they're gone. Where males come into this world yearning, or their lesson is to build. That's why they build businesses. That's why they build. And so the thing about it is, if you really study Kabbalah, and this is just my take on it, is that females come here naturally spiritual, and their struggle is building material world. Where men come in easily building material world and struggle with the spiritual part of it. Because I noticed that when I clear houses or I do spirit releasement on people, when a female stays, a female has a story behind her. She's not afraid to go into the light. She has some type of, I was done wrong, people screwed me over, I was killed, and nobody cared. So, or like on your case where she felt so guilty that she had a hard time going in, but they usually are aware of the light. They just, for whatever reason, want to stay behind. But it's hard for me. It's harder to it's harder for me to get women to go into the light because they want their story heard and they want to clear something up, usually. Where men is a little different. That's just my experience. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just wanted to see your take on it. And it's interesting that you thought it was more males than females.
Yeah, it's not that I think that. That's just what we've come across so far. And
interesting.
Yeah, and in my human experience, most friends that I've had or family members that have committed suicide have been mostly male. And I'm not sure why that is, or maybe it's because there's more males than females in my family or friends unit. Because it's hard to friend females on my side. There's just so many things going on there. But
and that's my experience too. I I probably have about 10 suicides, and they're all males. Everyone, none. I can't even think of a female I know that committed suicide.
Yeah, I have no
That's
one
interesting.
that I know personally as female that has done that. I've known several males that have. So I'm not sure if it's the chemical imbalance or testosterone boost or whatever's going on at the time that they do that. But it's pretty sad either way it goes, the loss of life, because I do believe it is a gift and you should nurture it and embrace it, because not everybody gets this opportunity,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree.
So we have a question here from Joseph, and he says, or asks, could a trained psychic intuitive help suicidal people? How? I mean, what would that look like in a clinical setting? I love the idea, by the way.
I guess I would answer that in one way. It's not, because when I do a reading, I kind of touched on it earlier, is that when I go into a reading, I don't know who I become, but I'm no longer Suzie Coggins. I'm channeling your spirit guides and angels. Your spirit guides and angels love you more than you could ever imagine. They came in, like you said, not everyone gets this opportunity. So they come in with you, like, and almost in awe of you, because we're here to help you. And rarely do I feel like, I think guardian angels and spirit guides are different in my book. Guardian angels, to me, are loved ones who've crossed over and want to help you on your life path. Whereas spirit guides and angels, I have seen some that have been human, but rarely have they ever been human. And so they decide to experience being human through you and help you. So when someone comes in and they're kind of upside down in their life and they don't know which direction to go into, what is really cool is I'm not telling you what to do or having anything to do with this. I'm talking to the people who love you the most and spend all day with you, and they can see, they know the contract you wrote up to come in here. They know what your mission is. They can help you find your way again. And I guess with the suicide, I go back to the experience before of, I feel like if someone was suicidal, I mean, a psychic would help you, but I feel like I would really bend into learning how to deal with your anxiety, maybe going to a place where you meditate or learn how to meditate. And that's where I would, if it was me, I would help them as much as I can, but I would recommend after the reading that they find some peace and they have to find some way to feel comfortable and feel loved again. And to me, like I said, my Uncle Davey, he was a drug addict. He committed suicide, and he was that for me. He connected to me, and he helped me. And it wasn't like I feel like he helped me feel comfortable and loved. And maybe that's why I'm the psychic medium I am, because I had him to help me. But I feel like a traditional psychic reading, I don't know if that would exactly help anyone, but if you went into the psychic medium to be like, I really need helpful information from my spirit guides. I want to learn how to connect to my spirit guides. How do I talk to them by myself? And I feel like if you can find a psychic medium that would help you do that, I feel like that would be immensely helpful, because to have someone who's on the spirit world that can see things that you can't see, that can help you deal with the things that are going on in your life that make you suicidal, that is very powerful. You know what I mean? But I feel like it depends on what you think a psychic medium does too,
Yeah, everybody has their own ideals and perspectives of what things are. So Suzie, do you think one needs to believe in reincarnation to do past life regression?
Honestly, no, because I didn't believe in it. I did not believe in it. I guess I believed in it to a degree, maybe 10%, but until I experienced it myself, then I was a believer. I mean, I had a fear all my life, and I'm embarrassed. I was in my 40s, and I was still afraid of the dark. I was terrified of the dark. And when I'm in this class, I'm kind of on the fence. And then we broke off to work with each other, and I told you I went through that life where I was stabbed. But the reason I was afraid of the dark was because I was a guard, and it was weird because in the past life regression, I could see that I was guarding a village that was in a grass bowl. I'd never seen it before this point. And then later on in the History Channel, I saw where, I don't know if it was England or Scotland, where they actually had towns inside of these bowls. And it looked exactly what I saw in my past life regression. But I was a guard, and the other guard that was supposed to take my ship fell asleep, and I was asleep. So on that side of the bowl, there was no protection. And they came in, they killed me, or they stabbed me, leaving me to die. But it happened when it was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. I woke up to that. And for the rest of my life, I was terrified of the dark. And I did the past life regression. And I don't care if it's make-believe or I can feel my ancestors' DNA or it truly is. That night when I went home, I was no longer afraid of the dark. It was bizarre how I could spend like over 40 years being terrified of it, and I do past life regression, and it's done and over with. I have never had a fear of the dark after that. It's bizarre to me. So yeah. I don't think you have to believe in it because and even if there's a lot of studies now. I think it was the University of Virginia started actually studying it. They said past life regression is not a theory, it's a fact. They had taken these little kids who believed that they were somebody else. They sat with these kids, with the parents, of course, and got as much information. And the kids that gave them enough information, they actually found the people that they said that they were, right? And 88% of the time, the family met these little kids, and they said, no, that's my Uncle Joe. There's no way he would know this information unless he was my Uncle Joe. And he was reincarnated, right? So that was an interesting study. So if you have time to look up reincarnation, I think it was the University of Virginia. They actually did a long-term study on reincarnation. But I don't care if it's make-believe or we really do get reincarnated or you actually have memories in your DNA, so you're remembering another ancestor's information. It helps people. And I feel like I don't really believe at all you have to believe in it. I mean, try it. To me, there was no doubt in my mind that I lived through that lifetime because it felt so real. And, you know, it turned me from a non-believer to a believer in probably an afternoon.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the studies and experiences that people have gone through. So, how easy is it to remember a past life?
I guess the more you relax about it, my one friend, she actually does for teenagers. It's really interesting. She does past life parties, right? And what she does is, it's a very basic one, where they go in and they say that there's 2 questions to get you into it. And it's all make-believe and just go with it. Don't try to censor it. Don't try to figure it out. So you break off into like teams. That's what she does. So you have 2 people, and the first person says to the second person, think of a time and a place in history that you absolutely love. And then think of a time and a place in history that you absolutely hate and that would never want to go there. And now you ask, which one do you want, the love or the hate? And so they said, in my case, it was Scotland. And I never wanted to go there. And so, not that I have anything against Scotland, but for some reason I would never want to visit there. And and then you just keep asking why? And well, because I don't know, because I have this fear around if I went there, I would die. Well, why do you feel like you would die? And you just keep asking these questions until you start telling a story. And then the story just starts unfolding, and you don't even know how you're saying, like, why do I know this information? Why do I know cities were made in bowls? I don't know, but I know it. And the more you step away from analyzing it or trying to figure out why you're thinking it, and just get into the feeling of it, fall into the story, and it just came off the tip of my tongue. And I was like amazed. But I've tried it with other people who I can't get under hypnosis because some people just won't let go enough to do it under hypnosis. So I go, okay, here, try. Tell me a story about the country you would love to go to and what part of history, like, oh, you would love to go to Italy at the turn of the century. Why? Tell me a story about that. And they just start talking, and all of a sudden they hit these epiphanies, and they're like, oh, my God, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so, but under hypnosis, I think you can get into those deep details of, like, you know, where you were, what you were doing. But to me, a lot of people get into, like, the technicality of it. I want to go into what happened in that lifetime that it's affecting you here in 2018. And that's what I really dig into. That's what I want to know. So in 2018, you can have a happier life.
Well, we also have a question here from Caden, and he says, what do you think about people saying your birthmark is the scar of how you died in another life? Do you find that to be true?
I do. And I don't know how, like, I heard that theory a long time ago. And of course, I don't know, sometimes I'm very logically minded. I'm like, yeah, right. How do you even do that? And this one guy walks out at CHIVE. I was between classes or on a lunch break or something. And CHIVE is a different place. Like, people will walk up to you and give you readings right on the spot at this place. It's just a very unique place, right? So, he walks up to me and he goes, can I tell you what I'm feeling here? And I'm like, sure, what's going on? He goes, in another lifetime, there was this guy and he came up and he stabbed you right here. He lifted up my arm, right? And he pointed like under my armpit and he like even did the action where he shoved this, like he goes, shoved this spear right through and it went through your heart and it killed you instantly. And I'm like, oh, interesting, right? I walked away and I go, you know what? That makes sense to me. And I looked at him and I said, I had this really huge birthmark right there, right where he picked up and he even pointed to it. He goes, it went right through here. And I have this large birthmark. He would never have known it. And right where he pointed was this big, huge birthmark that nobody would know I had. But it's on the side of my, like, right under my armpit. And so I truly believe that. And when I've done past life regression on people, I've noticed on a couple people, like they were shot and they have a birthmark right there. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if there could be a science behind it, but my instinct or my psychic head on it, it is true. But I don't know if there's any true way to prove it. But I definitely drink the Kool-Aid on that one. I don't know how I know. I just know.
Yeah. I know that's funny how that happens. I don't know how, but I just know. I've had that happen several times. Yeah. We have a question in here, or a discussion going on about age and how easy it is. Do you think anyone can be hypnotized depending on how young or old they are?
You can be hypnotized. Okay, everyone can be hypnotized except for handicapped people, depending on the degree of disability, and children under 5, because they're always in a state of hypnosis. It's very difficult. I've done guided meditations with little kids. They fall into it very quickly. So I don't know where the line ends between a guided meditation and the hypnotherapy, but I've only used it on little kids to sleep. It works like a charm, trust me. But the only reason you can't be hypnotized is because you don't want to be hypnotized. And I remember our hypno teacher, and she was amazing. And she's Linda Bennett at CHIVE. If you ever get a chance and that's what you want to do, you need to learn it from Linda Bennett. She's amazing. But what she said is she used to be a stage hypnosis. She did it for entertainment. And you don't see it on TV. I've never been to a live hypno like stage thing. But what she said was she would ask questions to the audience, and she would pick out the people who, even though they were kind of like straight-laced and you never think they would do it, but if they kept answering the questions in the right way, she would pick them. If somebody was pushing the other person on stage, she would never pick those people. She would see who was easily able to, or she was easily able to hypnotize them, and she would handpick them out of the audience, and she would bring them up there. But the only reason you can't be hypnotized is because you don't want to be. But little kids are hard because they're actually in a state of hypnosis 24 hours a day. They're in their subconscious mind. They haven't split between your conscious and your subconscious mind yet.
So for people out there that are... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, but that being said, you can, at that age, you can almost suggest anything. So if you play some soft music and you start telling them a story and they're listening to it, and you're kind of in this place of, next time, Joey comes in, you're not going to be upset. Maybe they got a bully at school, whatever it is. You could talk them through it so they can have a positive outcome for that. And the other thing with hypno, I think people don't understand, is that, if you don't want to do it, you will never do it. There's no way under hypnosis, if I tell you every time you hear a bell, you're going to run down the street buck-ass naked, right? That's not going to ever happen because you're not going to do it. Even though I suggested it under hypnosis, you're never going to do anything that you wouldn't normally do. Although on stage, those people wanted to do it.
So you're saying clients generally keep control of themselves during a process and they shouldn't really worry about not having control of what they generally would?
Exactly. Because I've had people that, I always tell people, if it gets difficult, I can see that you're upset about it. I can bring you out, or you can bring yourself out. And I had a couple people bring themselves out. They're like, I can't do this right now. We rescheduled, and then it was successful. But if nobody can make you do anything you don't want to. But if you want to quit smoking, or if you want to stop being anxious about something, or you want to take tests well, you will do it. But there's nothing that can control your mind. You have full control of your mind, no matter what anyone else says.
So, do clients generally remember their memories after a session, or do they have to be reminded?
I don't know where that comes from. I guess a couple times when I did hypnotherapy, but more of a guided meditation, I don't remember anything. But I always put the suggestion in that you remember it. I generally will record your session so you know exactly what was said. But there are hypnotherapists that will ask people who are they analyze everything and they overanalyze things, and then they analyze it to the point where they do the self-sabotaging stuff. There is hypnotherapists that will do that. They'll say, okay, you're going to forget everything that you heard today. So it's like it's programming underneath you, so you can't psychoanalyze it and destroy it. So there is a technique where you can do that. But if you want to remember it, there's nothing that can stop you from doing that. But you have to trust your hypnotherapist, and there are hypnotherapists that do it that way. I don't do it that way. I want you to remember everything. And I think I did it with one client, but I told her beforehand. I go, you have a monkey mind. You're always analyzing stuff. So in the session, I'm going to ask you not to remember it. And we had been working together long enough where I felt comfortable. But most people remember. If you want to remember, you're going to remember everything.
Yeah, I would think that if you go through that process, you would want to retain those memories because there's a reason you've gone and done that. So do you think, because I've heard stories from my friends that have done past life regression, and also my friend that did do that, her daughter remembered her memories when she was just a little girl, and she's like, remember, Mama, back a long time ago, and I wore a big dress, and I had an umbrella and high heels, and I'd walk around, and you were a boy, and this and this and that and that. Do you find that clients recognize people they know as they are generally repeated in each other's lives?
Yes. I had it once where I was working with this lady, and she looked at me and she said, we had a past life together, and it was freaky. It kind of freaked me out a little bit because I said, what do you mean? And this was before I actually started doing before I became a hypnotherapist, right? And I go, what do you mean? And she said, well, this is going to be a little weird, but she started talking about it, and I freaked out because I looked at her. I knew what she was talking about. I was finishing her story before she, like, I would be like, and then we went and did this and that. And she's like, yeah. We both freaked out because she would start a story and I would end it. And I would start a story and she would end it. And we went on, and so yes, I do believe we run into the same people a lot. And I don't know exactly why that happens, but anyone that's really into past life usually says that we keep recycling with the same people. Not always, but a lot of times we come in, and I believe a lot of karmic stuff is involved in that too, where, excuse me, you did something wrong to someone else, and now they came. One of my favorite hypnos was this girl, and she came in to do a past life regression, and her mom always fought ever since she was real little, right? She had 3 other sisters, so this is a mother with 4 daughters, and that's all was in the family, right? So 3 daughters and the mother got along perfect. It was that one black sheep. She couldn't get along. So we do past life regression. She goes into her past life, and her mom was her daughter. And she was the mom in the past life. And as the mom, she killed her daughter, which was her mother in this lifetime.
Oh, man.
So, I know. And so, so when she came into this life, as soon as she was born, her mom recognized her and gave her an attitude, you know? And so I saw her about a year later, and I'm like, I'm curious, how, like, after you had that past life regression and you realized that you had killed your mom in a past life, but she did a lot of forgiveness work around it during the session. And she goes, you know what? Me and my mom get along really, really good now. And she kind of laughed. She was not as good as my sisters and her, but we never fight anymore. And if we do start to fight, I say in my head, Mom, please forgive me for killing you. And she goes, the fight usually stops.
That's
and
funny.
She goes, it's like, it's improved immensely. And she goes, I hope as the future goes along, I'll ask for forgiveness so many times, eventually she'll forgive me. But I go, did you tell your mom? She's, no, my mother's not that type of person. So she never told her mom, but in the spirit world, she kept asking for forgiveness. But she goes, I'm so happy. I'm so glad I did it. And, you know, now I can have conversations with my mom. At least I know why she behaved the way she behaved. And she goes, I feel better about my mom. And because I feel better about my mom, we get along better. So she goes, there's room for improvement, but she goes, she was very happy. So I do believe we keep recycling with the same people. And I almost feel like once we finish that karmic energy, maybe we recycle with a different group. I don't know, but I definitely know. And I would say I can't remember doing any past life regression where the person has not met someone they know in their current life. I can't remember that. At least because I usually, when I do past life regression, I do from 1 to 3 lives, and I can't remember ever going, wow, you didn't meet anyone you knew. I've never seen that, but I'm sure it's happened, but not for me.
Yeah, that's so very interesting. We have another question in the chat room from Yvonne, and she says, how far familiar shamanic he was. In a dream, I was in prehistoric period, dancing around fire with ape-like species about 4 feet tall and prep for a hunt. Was this a past life or just answer to my question?
I would assume that was a past life. When I did the past life for the girl who was afraid of the tsunami, she was a cave woman. She was like very primitive. She was talking about how big the foreheads like her family members, they all had big foreheads. And so I believe, some people believe you can go to other planets and have different lives on their planet, and then you have different lives on this planet. But I have gone back that far. So I believe as long as we have souls, we're going to reincarnate. So, and for her personally, I feel like it was a past life that she was tapping into.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it can be, you know, a different timeline or even interdimensional, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one I really struggled with. I get the concept, but it's just hard to get my head around that we're having two lifetimes at the same time and all these different levels. And I guess, I don't know, it's hard enough for me to deal with 2018.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I get it and I understand it. But I really haven't like took enough time to actually study and fully understand it. But yeah, there is that. I believe there's different dimensions, and I feel like once in a while, I don't know if you get this too. Once in a while, I'll see like a bubbling, like in the middle of the room, and it looks like almost like time stretched. Like someone is on a different like level, and they're busting through into this level, and I'll see it, and I'm like, did I really just see that? And I asked one of my friends, I go, you ever see that? She goes, oh yeah, that's somebody from a different dimension. I don't know if I 100% believe it, but I've seen it, and I kind of believe it, but I just don't have enough experience with the whole thing to actually put a, you know, this is what I believe and this is what I don't believe.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's so many possibilities out there. We have a question here from Eric, and he says, okay, how do you separate the fiction and the absorbed history and imagination that a person like me in their 50s would have stuffed away in their heads from a past life, especially someone like me with a master's in history? I could probably weave one hell of a tale under hypnosis.
That is interesting. I guess that would be very difficult because because I'm very analytical. And when I first got into this, I tried to analyze the heck out of it. I'm like, even the psychic readings and stuff, you know? But I guess when you do the past life regression, it's more like, you know, it's true. You feel it's true. Like being in my 40s and still being afraid of the dark 1 minute, and then the next minute I'm not. I just can't believe that I didn't go to another lifetime. That's really interesting, Eric, because if you know a lot about history, I guess you could weave a really nice tale into it. But I just feel like, I guess there's no true way to prove it, but I would wonder if his interest in history is because he's trying to unravel his past lives. That's what I would go with. But I definitely, no matter what, if you don't believe in psychics, you'll never believe. I can have all the proof in the world, you're not going to believe it. You know what I mean? But I feel like for him in particular, if he went into a past life and it just sounds true, oh, I see why I've had these fears all my life. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to answer because I do see his point of view of, I could easily see him like being able to weave this amazing story. But I feel like when I work with past life regression, I truly want to be in a place of making your life better. So if you have any fears or phobias or energy, and if you go to that lifetime and you feel healed or completed, it doesn't matter what is true or what's not true. You're a better person because of it.
Yeah, and I kind of find it interesting that he has these questions and these doubts when I believe it was last year he was going back east to Washington to a Paracon, and he actually experienced one of his past deaths in a certain area of the world. I believe it was in Arizona somewhere, but I'm not particularly sure. But that's pretty interesting that he's asking these questions.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was going to say that's in the beginning, I really wanted to know why I did what I did. Like, there has to be a rational reason. And every time I would try to rationally figure it out, Spirit would jump in and I'd be like, okay, it's not that. And I'm running down all these rabbit holes. And then after a while, I'm like, you know what? I may never know why it happens the way it happens, or why I came into this world with this gift, but you know what? I have a purpose, and I'm going to use that purpose to make my life better and other people's lives better. And for my own sanity, I had to let it go. And I was there. I understand exactly what he's going through, because you just want to know. And after a while, I just said, I truly believe we do not have the technology currently to prove that ghosts exist, to prove that psychic medium exists, to prove that past life regression. I'm thinking or hoping in my lifetime that they do have the technology and the proof to really prove the things that are going on in our world. But it's just because, I mean, even, you know, at one point we thought the world was flat and there was no way to cross the ocean. You know, they built a boat and they disproved it. You know what I mean? So I just feel like that's where we're at. We just don't have the technology at this point to prove the things that are going on.
Yeah, now Eric is saying it was in the Holbrook Hotel in Golden Valley, California. So that's pretty awesome and interesting. So there's a couple things. There's so many questions I want to ask, and I'm trying to choose the best ones for right now because I know we're running out of time. Do you know what is the space between lives known as, and why do we reincarnate?
Okay, this is why I truly believe we reincarnate. If you've seen it, or other people have seen the movie Lucy, and where she drank she ingested these drugs, and instead of using 10% of her mind, she slowly started using 20 and 30 and 40, and so she used 100% of her mind. And what she explained, when she uses 100% of her mind, we are all connected as one, right? And I feel like, as I compare it to having a lot of siblings, you're living in this room and you're sharing this room with all these kids, all these energies, and then you're like, I'm going to move out on my own and I'm going to go live all by myself and I'm never going to have any kids, and you know what I mean? So I feel like when we're all connected as one, we want to know what it feels like to be individual. So we're like, if I become individual, I will learn this lesson, right? And then we come here and we feel lonely. And we're like, God, no, nobody connects to me. I don't get it, you know? And so now we crave again to be part of one, right? Of it all. So then we pass away and we go back into that place where you're never alone. You feel part of one. You feel the love. And then it's kind of like the grass is greener. This is just my personal belief. What was the other part of that question?
Okay, so one was, why do we reincarnate? And the other is, what is the space of time between lives known as?
Okay, I don't know. I mean, I've heard different theories, but I call it, honestly, it sounds crazy, but I call it the in-between place. The coolest thing, and it took me forever to get here, to do for past life regression, I don't know. I was probably doing it for years before I finally popped into the in-between place. And so at the end of all my past life regressions, and not everyone responds to it, I say, okay, we're going to take you to the last moment of this lifetime where you're a fairy princess, whatever it is, right? And you're going to be at your deathbed. Tell me what happens. So it could be a traumatic death or a very peaceful death. And I go, take your last breath and tell me what you experienced. And when I did that for myself, it was the most amazing place. I don't know if you can even describe what it feels like. It just feels like all love. It just feels like the absence of everything, but it's everything. It's hard to explain, but it was a really cool feeling. So when I passed away, the feeling of leaving my body was very peaceful and beautiful. And when I was in the in-between place, it was a very peaceful and beautiful place too. I don't know what you call it. I mean, I've heard all these theories, but I wish I had a fancy technical name for it, but I've always called it the in-between place, in-between lifetimes.
Yeah, and I've heard that so many times. The other side is love, unless you believe otherwise. As far as if you've done wrong, you might believe in a hell and you're stuck in this certain hell that you've made up in your own mind. But from the general consensus, I just hear that the other side is love, and that's pretty intriguing and interesting, and it makes me happy.
Yeah, I feel like you're okay. I feel like your life review is very difficult. From spirit coming to me, from relatives coming to me, and what they told me was that when you do your life review, that is not it's a beautiful thing, but if you were horrible in your lifetime, you have to experience from the person who you abused. So say if I randomly found you here in Arizona and I beat the heck out of you, right? And when I passed away, I would see me beating you up, and I would have to feel what it felt for me to do that to you. I would have to feel how you were afraid of people after that. I would have to feel how your whole family experienced that. You know what I mean? So that part of reviewing your life is very difficult, especially if you did a lot of harm or you were reckless in your lifetime or you committed suicide. That part. But they also show you, if I came over and I helped you all day and I, did all these really beautiful, nice things. I planned a surprise party for you. I would see that from your point of view, how much you appreciate it, how much you loved it. So you get to see both the good and the bad. But to me, honestly, I don't know, maybe that is true. I just don't believe if I believed in hell during this lifetime, I would have to go experience it after. I don't know. I've never experienced it, so I might be wrong, but I feel like once you go through your life review, you have a lot of choices, and it's a beautiful place.
So, Eric is also asking and saying, linear time does not exist once we have passed from this current life. Why don't we get glimpses of lives that are further ahead? Have you ever seen anyone that has seen in the future instead of a past life, as we know what our lives are going to be before we have them?
Yeah, I do that all the time. Well, future is different. Future is a little bit different because at this moment, I can tell you about a life I see. As a psychic, I can show you a life that you could possibly have. If you love that vision that I'm talking about, you're going to try everything to keep it in there. If you don't like that vision, you're going to try everything to move in the other direction. But one of my favorite therapies, and I don't know if anyone else has done it, but being a psychic medium and being a hypnotherapist, I'm like, why wouldn't you melt these together? So I do this thing called time travel therapy. And what I do is I take you to the future. And I bring you to a place where, say if you were working on something and, say you wanted to be a zoologist. I'm just pulling that out of nowhere. So I take you to the time where you actually are working at the zoo and you always wanted to work with the elephants. So I take you to that time. And then we turn around and we look how you got there. Who did you have to talk to? What successes did you have? What did you have to overcome to get to this place where all your dreams are coming true? You know what I mean? So I love doing time travel therapy, and I feel like anyone can do it. But the only thing is, when we come back to this time, you have to work diligently to make it happen. Because if you sit at home and play video games all day, you're never going to make it happen. But I do believe there is possibilities out there, and through hypnotherapy, I bring you to that, to your perfect life that you would love. And sometimes this one guy, he was a realist. So I take him to the future, and he is married, and he has a house, and I go, well, walk out in the backyard, right? And I go, explain to me what it looks like, and he goes, yeah, we still got dog shit back here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but we still have because
let's watch our
apparently in his
language.
I know, sorry, I didn't say
That's
that.
all right.
There's dog poop back here, right?
Mhm.
And he says, and when I came out, of course I had to address it. And I go, because then you're thinking, well, but what he was saying was that this is an argument me and my girlfriend constantly have about who picks it up. So in the future, they still have that issue.
That's interesting. We have to go to break here in about 2 minutes. And so one of my final questions about past life regression, because I've been mulling this over for a while now, what are the risks and the benefits of past life regression therapy?
And a lot of benefits. Negatives on it. That's interesting. I'm trying to think of, I have an experience. I don't know what and I've heard people say, I don't know. I don't know any negatives. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, and I know people are, like, if I've studied other people who do past life regression, and a lot of people are against it. I don't know really why, and I never really could figure out why. I don't know. I feel like being disappointed. You want to go into a life where you're a king or a princess or something, and you find out that, you were behind the king and you were, cleaning the streets after the horses came through. You know what I mean? Or I guess this one would be, is going to a very traumatic past life where you were killed. Now you have that current memory of it. I think that's a bad one too. It's my daughter did past life regression, and she was in a concentration camp. It was very difficult for her.
That's
and
terrible.
I felt bad. She had given some people some food, like her friends. She snuck food, and they found out about it. And so they lined her and everyone she gave food to on their knees and tied their hands behind their back. And she had to watch them shoot every single person, and then it hit her, right? And so she came out of it, and I'm like, I felt horrible, and I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have done this. And she goes, oh, sure.
We have to go to break right now, but if you'd like to finish this up when we come back, that'd be awesome. I thank you so much for being here and for all your information and influence, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on SpacedOutRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. Here comes the second hour of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. And you can follow Tessa on Twitter at Tessa TNT. Now, back to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been great having you and all of your wonderful questions. We're joined by Suzie Coggins, psychic medium. We're talking about past life regression and multiple other things. right now, Susie, we have a question from Rick Kirby, and he says, Tess, ask her how she determines whether she's listening to a possible true past life regression. I wonder if it's the same for her as it is for me.
When I'm doing a reading?
Most likely, I believe when you're doing a past life regression.
Well, when I do, comes up, I'm just repeating what I'm hearing your spirit guides and angels tell me. And I don't really question that. And when I do it through hypnotherapy, the client's actually telling me their experience. So I'm not really sure what the question is. Okay. Oh. I don't know if there's any way to truly do that, because I do believe that sometimes our subconscious mind, as it's going through the past life, it will pull things in that don't make sense. You know what I mean? I had this girl, and she was in Rome, and she was talking about the Colosseum and everything, and then she pops out of it, and I go, what happened? And she goes, there was a Ford truck there. And so I feel like sometimes we do, our subconscious mind, to make sense to us, they put things in there to kind of make the story move forward. But I truly believe if your spirit guides and your angels and you really want to clear up an issue, it will take you to that authentic life. Is 100% of what you're telling me true? Maybe not, but I think the bulk of it, the experience of it, or what's happening, because I feel like there's two schools to past life regression. One is to go and say in the 1920s you had this life, and I want to know what street I live on, and the address, and the neighbors, and you know what I mean? So now I can look in a history book and prove this right. I guess that would, and I feel like a lot of people go there, but I feel like that's not what I focus on. I focus on the healing aspect of past life regression. If all that other stuff comes in and I can prove, or I can listen to your past life regression and prove what you're saying, that's good, but I just don't see the value in it. I want your current life to be happy. You know what I mean? So I guess it depends on what you're looking to get out of past life regression.
And I agree with that. Like, with your life that you're living right now, you should take full advantage of it. Take every opportunity that you can. Don't put off today what you can do tomorrow, because you don't always have tomorrow. It's not always promised. So take advantage of that. Live life to its fullest. And like I said before, life is a gift, and not everybody gets that opportunity. I don't have any questions coming in right now. So one of the questions I had was, how do clients generally feel after past life regression?
Oh, like, I'll finish my daughter's story. After she went through this horrible experience, and like in the concentration camp, and she was visibly like broke down. And I felt bad. I thought maybe, because I didn't do it with her, but I was there with her when it happened. And I said, I'm really sorry. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. I felt really guilty. And she goes, absolutely not, Mom. She goes, I have an amazing life. I have a house with a pool, people that love me. I have friends. I can do anything I want. And she's like, she saw it from that horrible point of view. And I was like, it really did, like, it shook her to the core. It really tore her up. But on the other hand, I was so relieved when she took the good piece of it, and she's like, no, I have a fantastic life. And, you know, she was in her late teens at the time, so, you know, it wasn't always the story where she was like bright sunshine and rainbows. But at that moment, I was very grateful. So she did take what she needed from that.
That's very interesting. Do you know anything about twin souls?
Like soulmates? Is that what you're talking about?
Basically, what
or
are
someone that's
what are twin souls? Is it like when somebody was conceived, maybe in the womb, the other twin passed and was absorbed by the remaining twin? I'm not exactly sure what exactly are twin souls. I've heard the term, but I'm not exactly sure what that is.
From what I know what a twin soul is, this is one theory that I've heard, is that we decide to come into the world as one soul, and for some reason, the same soul splits in two and goes into two different bodies. So and you spend your lifetime trying to find that person. And when you do, you're really connected to that person. And so that does come up a lot in past life regression, because a lot of people think that they're twin souls. Or is it that I knew you in a past life and we knew each other really well in that past life, and now I met you in this past or in this life, and we feel like twin souls? So I feel like from what I heard twin soul was, it's an actual soul. For some reason, it splits, and I think it comes from the Hindus or Buddhism or something. And I honestly, I wish I could remember why the soul split, but it split, or because the population of the earth is getting so much. I don't know if I believe that they only have so many souls and they start splitting them off, right? I don't know if I believe that, but that's what a twin soul is. But other people are like, I came in to meet this person, soulmate. I feel like for that question, I feel like there is soulmates, and I think there's good soulmates, and then there's bad soulmates. And I don't mean I feel like, so think about that person that you really went through hell with. They were mean to you. They treated you horrible. They, betrayed you. They cheated on you. They beat you, whatever they did to you. Imagine if that person was in the in-between place with you, and you said, I really want to learn what forgiveness is. And they said, you know what, I love you so much, I will go to earth and I will torture you, and so you have to forgive me, but that's how much I love you. So I truly believe that is your soulmate. Someone came here to teach you a lesson. In this lifetime, you're like, no, that's never going to be my soulmate. I hate that person, right?
Yeah.
But, but I feel like then there's your good soulmate that you made a contract. You're like, okay, I'm going to go through all these experiences, and you're going to come into my life, and your job is to make me laugh, and we might have some bad times, but mostly we'll have good times, and we'll enjoy each other's company, male or female relationships, but I came here to help you. I believe that's a soulmate too. But the twin souls is a little different of the story. It just means that you originally were part of the same soul, and for some reason you broke off, and then when you meet each other, you get each other because you are the same soul. You've had different life experiences, but at the core, you're the same person.
That's so cool. It's a very interesting concept.
Yeah, it is.
Here I have a question from Dawn, and Dawn says, I had a situation I had to deal with today. It is weighing heavy on me without going into details. Does the guest think I dealt with it in a way that will work, or maybe not in the right way?
I feel like what I'm hearing from, what was his name again? Don?
Her name is Dawn.
Oh, Dawn. Okay. Dawn. Okay. I feel like when I talk to her spirit guides and her angels, I feel like she handled it in the best way possible, but I feel like on some level it either wasn't heard properly or it wasn't received properly. So I feel like she needs to go into, try it again. I feel like with a loving heart and move forward with it. But I feel like she did the best she could at that moment. I feel like there's resistance on the other side, and either they didn't feel it right or they're just not getting it correctly now. So I feel like her spirit guides and angels are saying you really did do the best you could at that moment. But for some reason, it's not going to end up the way she wants it to.
Yeah, nothing really does. I mean, we have our own perspectives of what should happen and what should be and what the outcome should be, and everything has a specific order in which it's supposed to go into, and sometimes the way we picture it or perceive it isn't the actual outcome, but it's good to know that her guides feel like she did go the right path, so I hope that helps her. Moving on to the next question, what relationship exists between dreams and past lives? Do you have an idea on that?
That's really interesting because a lot of people come to me because they keep dreaming about the same thing, or it seems reoccurring, or after they do a past life regression, they'll look at me and they'll be like, oh my God, I've dreamt about this all my life. And I feel, okay, and one, it's weird because I always dreamt about fire as a little kid, and through my life, I always had this weird feeling my house was going to burn down. I never knew anybody that their house burnt down. I never was in a house fire. My house had never been on fire. And I went into a past life that somebody burnt down my house. But I dreamt about it for years and years. So I do believe that there's a huge correlation. I feel like sometimes when we go into the dream state, that's when your subconscious mind takes over. And it basically, maybe it wants you to figure out how to deal with that past life or remember that past life to help you through the current situation you're going through. So I definitely think there's a huge connection between dreams and past life regression.
Yeah, it's so cool how, like, maybe it's a realm or a different reality, but it's interesting how that stuff all coincides. I have a question here from Christopher, and he says, I get a lot of travels astrally and remote viewing dreams in the south of France and have specific contact with spirits. Does it seem I spent a lot of past lives there?
I would say absolutely yes. Wow, there's a big connection there. I almost feel like, can you ask him a question? Or is it just one way?
Yeah, go ahead. You can ask him, and he can most likely respond in the chat room.
How has he ever gone there?
So far as I know, he hasn't. He's only gone there astrally and in his dreams.
Because I feel like his spirit guides and angels are, I feel like if he goes there, there'd be a lot of healing. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, but I just feel like, I want to say I feel like he's fought, or he was part of a battle, or he was part of something that, I just see there was a lot of activity, and maybe if he goes back to that and sees it firsthand, I feel like it's going to do a lot of healing work for him, and I think he's going to be like, oh my God, I know where I am, I know where this is, and but exactly what is his question? I'm sorry.
He's wondering if he, being that he travels there astrally and subconsciously, were a number of his past lives back in that area of the world.
Yeah, and it was very powerful. I feel like he did a lot of good work. I feel like he helped a lot of people. It was a very, very powerful and very empowering life. And I feel like when he goes back to that life, it was because he felt very important at that time, and he was very important. I want to say, and I usually don't go on a limb like this, but I want to say that I don't know if he was part of the government or he was somebody famous, but I definitely feel that he was definitely part of the history. I want to say when he, in another lifetime, I don't know exactly what he is because I can't really picture it, but I just see him dressed up, and I don't know, that's why I'm having a hard time. I don't know if it's a soldier or if it's a government, like he's part of the government, or he was a leader of some sort, but he has that, when I look at him, I see him dressed up, but I feel like he has a lot of importance there. That's really interesting. I would definitely, if I was him, I would look through history books of generals or leaders, or maybe even like mayors, or I don't know if they have like, governors or whatever it is, but I believe that he's going to see a picture and he's going to be like, I know that's me. I'm getting goosebumps everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny because he has a picture of a relative of his who is actually royalty at the moment, which he just recently found. And so it kind of reestablishes what he's been feeling through his astral and subconscious world. It just kind of a reaffirmation of what he's been believing. So that's pretty interesting.
See, I guess if it was American, I would be like, oh, that looks like a general, or that looks like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's someone of great importance. That's what I get for sure. That's interesting. I got goosebumps all over. So
yeah,
I would definitely look into it. But I feel like if he actually, it sounds funny, but once upon a time I used to be a travel agent, and I know AAA is still around. You could put a deposit on a trip and pay on it every single month. And if you end up going through something, you got to get your money back. As long as you cancel before the cancellation period, you get all your money back. But it's an easy, fun way to actually save up for a big trip. I highly recommend that he goes and sees and looks and explores, everything that's over there. But
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was my next question. Should he go over there? But you already answered that. So thank you so much.
I think it's going to be life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. It'll be a cool experience.
Indeed. Okay, so our next question we have is from Craig, and it's pretty open. What do I need to know most right now?
Well, when I get into his energy, the first thing that came through was his heart chakra. And I feel like on some level, he's not really following his passion or his love of life. And I feel like I don't really understand it. I feel like there's either too many rules or too many restrictions, and I feel like they come from his own mind. I feel like and I feel like once he actually starts following his passion and being in this place, or maybe he's already following his passion, but he's kind of like wondering what everyone's going to think about him, or worrying about the problems that might come because he is following his passion. But let go of all that and just be in your power and really move forward through that. And I feel like things are going to fall in place for him. And I definitely see, I don't know what's going on with his love life right now, but I feel like there's some kind of disconnect or some kind of issue around that. But I feel like don't focus on that. It feels like focus on your passion and make yourself happy. And I feel like your love life will correct itself. But I definitely feel that he just give himself permission to follow what he loves. And, just tell yourself it's going to be okay. But I definitely, because I feel like he came into this world for big things, and I feel like he's being a little too careful, I guess,
Yeah, that's easy to do. We try to protect ourselves, even though our heart's content is somewhere else, and we kind of block ourselves from carrying on. So that's pretty interesting. Thank you for those words of wisdom for Craig. Craig, I hope that helps. Now we have a question from Sandra Heath, and she wants to know, what do I need to know about my past lives?
Well, I feel like I'm going right to specifically a life where I feel like she was a man, and I want to say that she was kind of a brutal man. I want to say that, I feel like she was, I just feel like very overpowering. And so she came into this life almost flipping that over. I feel like she tries to be very gentle and very compassionate. And I feel like there must be a connection between, she worries so much, am I doing the right thing, or am I kind enough, or am I compassionate enough? Because I do feel like in that lifetime, she was not. It was pretty brutal. And I feel like on some level, she just has to, like, that past life just feels like she did some kind of, like, I want to say some wonky stuff, I think brutal stuff. And I don't know if she dreams about it or she kind of connects to that. But I feel like she has to think, okay, that was that lifetime. I'm a good person in this lifetime. And I feel like it's just like behind the scenes kind of energy that comes through. But I don't know. I just don't understand. I almost feel like she worries a little bit too much, and she doesn't stand in her power. That's what it is. She doesn't stand in her power to the point because she's afraid she'll go back to that lifetime, or she'll behave like she did in that lifetime. And what her spirit guides and angels are saying about that lifetime is she'll never do it again. Like, she learned her lesson from that, and in this lifetime, she can really stand in her power and move forward, and she's not going to, like, behave in that way ever again.
That's good. She learned her lesson the last time, and she needs to just kind of move past that doubt and
know that it's not going to repeat it, and that she really can, like, be powerful without fearing that she's going to abuse the power. That's what it feels like.
That's some good input. Our next question comes from Hannah Mullins, and she says, I have a situation I must resolve. Is my resolution the right one?
I'm getting a yes. I mean, we always want to hear this, right? Sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's yes. But I feel like, I don't know if it'll happen that way, but I feel like what she is feeling and how she sees it, like what she thinks is the right thing to do, is the right thing to do. The problem is she going to be able to get the universe or the people around her to do the right, to make it happen the way she wants it to happen? But I get a yes. I feel like maybe she should meditate on it a little bit and get some guidance from her spirit guides, some specific steps to move forward. But I definitely got a hardcore, like, all her spirit guides at once said yes.
That's good news. Let's see. Our next question is from John Teeter, a.k.a. JT, and he wants to know, has the guest done any future lives?
For me or for other people? And the answer is yes on both of them. Future lives. Oh, that's interesting. No. That is, I did. Oh, I have. And it freaked me out because I didn't, because we were doing a past life regression. And so I took him to the in-between place, and this guy is absolutely brilliant. He's one of my favorite clients. And I'm asking him, like, because I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. And I even said to him, I go, is this on this planet? Like, I mean, like, where are you going? He goes, no. He goes, it's in my future life. And I had never had that happen before. And I was kind of shocked. He came out of it. We were both like kids in a candy store, because I started asking all kinds of questions of, like, what happens now, what's going on. But yeah, I have had that. I don't know how it happened, and I don't know how to kind of get there again, but he popped into it. And when he popped into it, he definitely saw a lot of stuff in the future. And it was really interesting. And unfortunately, I've kind of drawn a blank, because when I do this work, I'm in spirit. And I did take notes from it, but it was really cool. We were both, like, super ecstatic when we came out of it, because I don't think he expected it, and I certainly didn't expect it. But yes, I have. And it was just one time. I've never personally done it, but I think I heard his question wrong when I first answered it. I've gone to the future in this lifetime, but I've never skipped forward and went to the next lifetime. But I did it once, but he did it, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting how you know your timelines, even though you haven't been there yet. I believe that in the spirit world, you're shown what your life would be, and you have the option, as, you know, your free will is a great gift, to choose to go into that life or not. And you can pass it on to someone else, or do it yourself. So that's pretty interesting that they have that memory even though they haven't even gone there yet. That's so cool.
It was actually, that one was one for the book. That was mind-blowing. I really enjoyed that.
You're like, whoa, what's happening?
I couldn't figure it out. And then finally, I was like, what's going on? He goes, this is a future life. And that's when I wish I would have prepared beforehand, because I would have asked him a lot more questions. you know?
But you probably didn't even expect that, you know?
No. I was like, boy, and afterwards, I just remember the rest of that day, I should have asked him this and I should have asked him that. But, I mean, it was his session and he got what he needed out of it. But I would love to go do that again. That, to me, was really fun.
Sounds so interesting. I have to do this past life regression.
We do.
Our friend Greg in the chat room is asking or saying, I don't feel like I have an attachment to anyone anywhere else in the world except for where I live. Does the guest think I have any past lives? Thanks.
Okay. I would say yes. And the reason I say that is I asked his spirit guide, is he very compassionate? And I heard a yes. And the reason I asked that question is because before I got into this, I really didn't understand abortions and I didn't understand a miscarriage. Or I always questioned, why is a baby born and then 2 days later dies? This makes no sense to me. And I always struggled with that. But I asked Spirit about this one day, and Spirit told me that, because in our first lifetime, we're very non-compassionate, very non-loving. We don't, until you review your life and see how you've affected other people, you can't really understand it. So a lot of people in first life, and this is just my belief from what I heard from Spirit, a lot of them end up in jail, and a lot of them end up in mental institutions, you know what I mean? And so a lot of times what will happen is for an abortion or a miscarriage, you're in the in-between place, you could ask someone saying, okay, I want to become human. I'm going to do it for the first time, and I really don't want to do a full life for the first time. I want to go in quickly, learn compassion and love, and then I'm going to go for my second life. Well, I already have it. But I feel like on him, he has a lot of compassion and a lot of love. So I just can't imagine anyone really coming in their first time and having as much as he does.
Well, that kind of explains this next question, because there are a lot of people out there that are hard or seem heartless or have no consideration or compassion for other people. But Mr. Markham was wondering, so obviously since the population keeps growing and has surpassed the number of past people, many living today do not have past lives. Do you find that to be true? Like first...
I don't know if first-time people would come to me. I really don't. I don't think it would be part of their agenda. Because I just feel like first-time people, they're very in like the survival mode. They're like, so I do believe that I don't know, that's a good question. I mean, I'd never pondered that before. Like, do we have a lot more first-time? And that would answer a lot of questions, huh? Like, it seems like people are more brutal and people are more aggressive, you know what I mean? And maybe there is a lot more people that are coming in for the first time. And I don't know, but I guess my whole thing, what I did ask this question a long time ago, is like, I heard there is way more souls than people. You know what I mean? Because this is not the only planet. This is not the only planet that we reincarnate from. There's several planets, if not hundreds, if not thousands of planets. And what I've heard is the Earth is one of the, it's a very, like, primal type of planet. You know, we're not really advanced compared to other planets.
Yeah.
But so,
and it kind of,
if you put your mind, and if you put your mind out there, there's so many different possibilities and realms, but I do believe, I guess I don't really 100% believe that, you know, the earth is the beginning and end. There's just too many probabilities out there. So I don't know. That's a really excellent question. So I don't know. I guess it could be possible that there's a lot of first timers coming through now, but I also see the kids that are coming through now. There's a lot of children that are super compassionate, super intuitive, and, you know, really, really amazing kids. You know what I mean? So I think, but I don't know. Did every generation have those first timers and, you know, and old souls? So I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess I don't really know. I do believe that when you come in for your first time, it's a very difficult life for you.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, because we're not all experts. Like, we're all learning, and nobody's an expert in any field, I believe, as far as psychic or mediumship goes, or even paranormal. Like, we're all still learning and discovering new questions, and that's why I like the chat room so much. Like, there's so much diversity and so many open minds and so many questions that we wouldn't even think to ask that come through. So it makes us ponder what we know already and kind of learn and build upon that. So that was a great question.
That was an awesome question. Now I'm going to have to really sit and think about that, or ask other people, hey, have you ever thought of that? Like, you know? So, no, the cool thing is when you do ask a question like that, the universe will bring you the answer eventually. But maybe I'm just not the person to give it to you.
Yeah, and I believe that too. It will come around. Your answers will come to you. Sometimes it takes time. Our next question comes from Rick Kirby, and he says, does Suzie believe that many people have past lives encroaching upon the present, and this is what they need to deal with, but they are unaware of what may help them, and that they are possibly someone whom would never consider seeing a hypnotherapist or psychic, etc., etc.? Are these people to be forever burdened by the past life?
That's another really cool question. I would say, because I guess when my experience with my personal issue of being afraid of the dark, and there was a lot of things that happened in that lifetime. That was just one issue from it. But I truly believe I would have been burdened by that for the rest of my life if I hadn't really dug in and figured, because I tried everything. I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 kids. I'm an adult. I should not be afraid of the dark. And so I always thought it was because I was a medium. And so I tried all these things and nothing would work no matter what, because I didn't want to live that way. And so I tried everything. I don't think if I experienced past life and figured out why I did it or why it happened that way or why I had that fear, I probably would still have it to this day, because logically I would have never gone there, ever. I would have never, ever gone there. I tried to find logical reasons, and every time I tried to fix it, it just never worked. So I guess, you would be burdened with it for a long time, and maybe you would keep coming back into this world until you figured it out. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's a really good question. It really is. So I guess each person would be individual. So, you know, or the other way you could do that is, I truly believe if you want to recover from something or change something, you can change your entire life and, you know, do everything you could do to bring your vibration up to the next level, eating right, meditating, exercising, you know, believing in yourself, being very confident. You're going to bring your vibration up, and eventually maybe you would be able to move through that. You know what I mean? Because you change you kind of rewire yourself when you do things like that. But I think doing past life regressions is a little easier.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So, I guess you could do it if you really did change everything about yourself. You probably would overcome that issue. But I feel like, you know, there's more ways to skin a cat. You know, there's 1,000 million ways to figure out how to do some different things. So
indeed.
Good question. Good question.
That was a really good question. Joseph in the chat room was asking, what is the best way for me to establish contact with my guides? Any specific advice about meditation practices, etc.?
Well, okay, as a psychic medium, I'm going to have to switch. Can you hear me? Okay. When I do work, it's almost like what it reminds me of is, you ever see those things where everyone's speaking or there's a circle and somebody's holding a feather, right? And the only person that can talk is the person holding the feather. Have you ever seen that? Okay, that's what it is. So when my spirit guides talk to me, it's like there's like a space next to me, and they step in that space and they talk to me. But I never hear them or never see them. I don't know what they look like. And sometimes they're your spirit guides and sometimes they're my spirit guides. But I'm just listening and repeating and hearing it. But I don't know my own people. When I met my own people is through guided meditation. I specifically had somebody that was a hypnotherapist, and what they did was they took me under hypnosis, and I went to this place where I literally sat down and talked to them. And I got to know them. I got to see them, what they look like. In the beginning, it was kind of hard. I had, personally, myself, as being a hypnotherapist, I had issues with visualization, seeing the things. But the more I did it, the better I get. But to this day, when I personally have an issue and I don't know how to deal with it, I do self-hypnosis. I go in, I sit down with my spirit guides, and I can literally see them and talk to them. That's the best way to do it, through meditation. And to me, I feel like it's the best way. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. Another really cool way to get messages from your spirit guides is symbolism, too. And I read this in, I love reading, and the one book I just recently read was The Universe Has Your Back. Her first name is Gabrielle. Have you heard that book?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, she says in the book that when she wants answers from her spirit guides and her angels, what she'll do is she'll ask spirit to show her an owl. And they gave her the owl, right? So she goes, what's my animal that you're going to show me? And the first thing that popped into her head was an owl. So every time she has an issue or she's trying to figure things out, she'll say, am I on the right track? If I'm on the right track and I'm supposed to do this, in the next 6 hours, I want to see an owl. And if she doesn't see an owl, she knows that she's not supposed to do that. If she does see an owl, then she knows, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm going to move forward. That is really on the spot kind of way I talk to my spirit guides. If I need answers, I ask them to show me my animal. You know what I mean? Or it could be a symbol, whatever it is for you. But that is a specific way I can talk to my spirit guides, because they have to actually use energy to put it in front of me. And it could be on TV or in a magazine or whatever, but when I see it, I know that they're telling me, okay, you're on the right track. But to actually have conversations and talk to them, I do this guided meditation or through hypnotherapy.
Yeah, that's super cool. Like, just put it out there in your mind or subconsciously, like, kind of put out there, what is the word for it? A telepathic message to whoever you're trying to speak to or get an answer from. And if you sit quietly enough or, you know, you're open to it, it'll come to you in time. Not always the time you want it to, but generally it comes in the time when you really need it.
Exactly. And that's spirit in a nutshell.
Yeah.
They don't work on our time. They have their own time. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. But yeah, so I just feel like the thing about it is, as spirit guides, I'm very analytical and I'm very stubborn, and like, so I've done a lot of things with them to be like, okay, even though I do it and it's come very natural to me, I still question it. I'm human, right? And what I'll do is I'll test them all the time. I don't think they appreciate it, but I do test them. And now the more I actually push myself and move forward with this, and I ask them for things, you know, I'm like, okay, if you're out there and I want to connect to you, this is what I need. And I need it by tomorrow, in fact. And sometimes they come through, and other times, but when they don't come through, they're like, eventually I'll figure it out that it did happen. I just didn't see it in the right frame of mind, or I wasn't looking in the right place. And I'm like, oh my God, it really did happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the more you like challenge yourself to really find the answers and try different ways to connect to them. But spirit guides, the crazy part, I think the number one thing people have a misconception with spirit guides is they think that it's this big booming voice or it's an angelic voice. No, when I talk to my spirit guides and angels, it's Suzie Coggins talking to Suzie Coggins. It's a little crazy. But after you do it long enough, you start to notice the difference between your voice and their voice. It's like the answer comes to you in your own head. You're like, why did I think that? Why did I think that? And you're like, well, that's not a thought I would think. I don't know. So a lot of times I would write these things down, and later on I'd be like, oh my God, that's exact. But it wasn't me talking to myself. It was my spirit guides giving me hints and clues. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people think, or they think that you see it perfectly. I wish I could see it. Give my left arm to see the way some psychics see. But it's a knowing, or it's a feeling, or they give me symbols. And now I have to think about it and try to make it all make sense for the person I'm reading for. Mm-hmm. But it's symbols. And I feel like if you the thing about it is you have to get out of your own head. How you normally talk is not the way spirit talks. How you normally get information is not the way spirit gives information. When you really give up faith and totally go, okay, I'm in your realm. How do you want me to accept this, or how do you want me to hear this? Then you actually really start hearing things and understanding things. But it's nothing that we do on Earth. It's some psychics can hear spirit, just like me and you talking. I'm not one of those psychics, but I think most people aren't. I mean, if you're that gifted, God bless you. You really, that's really cool for you. But for the rest of us, you really have to just have faith that, like, because instead of questioning it, just saying, you know what, this is what spirit wants me to know. Because a lot of times, if you really sit there and pay attention to your thought processes, a lot of times spirit speaks to us, but I was just guessing, or, you know, there's no way that could possibly be true, and you psychoanalyze it or you break it down. But if you're like, oh, that's interesting, mark it down and wait for it to happen, that's how spirit talks to you, but it's not the way we normally see things. So, and I've been studying spirit guides for years and years and years. It's nothing that comes overnight. It's a long, to me, I feel like it's a lifelong quest for me. And I don't think I've been doing this professionally, no other job for the last 10 years. So, and I still feel like I don't know anything about my spirit guides. I want to know more. I don't think I will ever truly understand my spirit guides or how to connect to them properly. So my quest is always trying to get better and trying to figure it out faster and quicker. And so that's a deep question.
It certainly is. And we're in our last 10 minutes, and we have several more questions in the chat room. So we'll try to get to these quickly. Hopefully we don't miss any of them. But Greg was wondering, I've been in every continent in the world with my job, and I never think I wouldn't mind staying here. Does Suzie think I've had a life outside of Scotland? Cheers.
I get a yes. I feel like he has. I feel like him in particular feels like a very old soul. I feel like I love his compassion level, and I really feel like he's done a lot. He's done it and seen it. He got the T-shirt. I definitely feel he has a very rich past life. You know, all of them combined.
Yeah, I get that same feeling off of him.
Yeah.
He seems like a really sweet old soul. We also have a similar question from Sandra Heath, and she wants to know, who is my spirit guide?
Most of us have several of them. You have your master teacher. One helps you with medicine and healing. One helps you with joy. There's so many different ones. But with her in particular, I definitely see she feels like an angel. I see a lot of blue around her. She's very beautiful, and she's very soft-spoken. And I feel like this girl in particular has the ability to move things with her mind, and I feel like that's a little out there. I can't do it, but I feel like she does, and I feel like this particular spirit guide really wants to help her do that. And it's not like magic, but I feel like once she learns that she can do it, I feel like her whole life will change, and she's going to see it. It almost reminds me of like when they do the spoon bending thing, where they use their mind to control the metal and stuff. She has that ability, and I forget what it's called. I apologize. But, bending spoons, I'm sure there's a lot of shysters, but there is an actual mind connection for that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I want to think telepathic, but it's not that. I'm having a hard time remembering the word as well, but I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the word at the moment. Yeah.
It actually has the ability to move and manipulate
telekinesis.
Material.
Telekinesis.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't. You know what? I'm gonna have to get off the phone and look that up after we get off. But yeah, it's gonna drive
Put that
me
down on your
nuts,
notes. We have another one here from Susan, and she wants to know: do I have a spirit guide?
All of us have spirit guides. I truly believe that when we're in the in-between place, we decide to come here for whatever lesson we want to learn, and your spirit guides you pick a team out. You pick a team out. Most of the time we stick with them for the life, but sometimes we outgrow spirit guides, but I believe most of us, say if we start with 10, very few of us will end with 10. We'll usually, you develop, like with me, my gatekeeper, I started with 1. Now I have about 5 or 6 of them. And so I do believe as we change our things in our life, we get more. But I've never met anyone without a spirit guide. And I feel like if I did, it would scare me just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Hannah Mullins has about the same question. I want to know who or what is my spirit guide, please.
It's like, because I don't see them. Oh, she has a funny looking one. Like he's
a heffalump.
And like we have several of them, but this one I feel like might be her gatekeeper. Like I feel like he protects her, and he feels kind of like he's cute, but he's short, and he's almost like I feel like I would find him out in the forest. You know what I mean? I feel like, but he doesn't look like a human. He looks more like a troll, but not an ugly troll. But I feel like he's really rough and tumble, and I feel like he helps her when she feels unprotected. He comes in and he kind of he kicks butt and takes names. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I feel like she definitely has a lot of protection. He's definitely part of it, but he loves her to pieces, and he just always wants her to be healthy and safe. But
That's
that
awesome.
was very unusual.
Yeah, he sounds cute but odd. But it's good that he loves her and he's looking out for her,
Yeah, and I feel like he carries around a club or a stick or something, and he's like, no one's going to mess with her when he's around.
Yes, probably a shillelagh. He's going to whip up on somebody. Hannah says,
what it feels like.
Yeah, Hannah says, thank you, and yep. Moving
That's
on
so
to...
funny.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. That is very interesting. You got to let me know if you find anything else out on that one. But Craig is wondering, have you found that when you're feeling very strong emotions, everything gets heightened? I have found that.
I feel like when I guess the first thing that popped into my head is like manifesting. When I really my emotions get very heightened, and it's like every cell in my entire body is focused on that one area, like magic happens, like things happen very, very quickly. So when I have a lot of emotion, and it could be like, because I never associated anger with manifesting, but when I get upset, I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I feel like Popeye, and I pop the spinach can open, and I'm like, that's all I can take. I can't take no more. And all my emotion is going to the thing I desire. It comes in very quickly, like amazing things happen. Other thing happens, and this has happened all my life, maybe this is what he's talking about, when my emotions get heightened, like things will happen within my house, like lights will shut off, or like I'll hear things fall off the cupboard. And at first I always thought it was like a haunting, and then as I started getting into this, I realized it was me. Like my emotions would go crazy and things would happen. Or that he might be talking about like electronics. I totally melted computers. Like, I don't know, my energy is so heightened. And I worked at this one company, and I said, something's wrong with this computer. And she switched the computers out at night when I didn't know. And she's like, Sarah has your computer, and she's not had a problem with it. You took Sarah's computer, and all the things you were complaining about are happening on this computer now. It's you, Susie. So I feel like if he's talking about that, yeah, a lot of times I have this extra energy, and it affects the world around me in a weird way.
Okay. And then I have a question here from Mr. Rick Kirby. Let me scroll down because I accidentally erased the wrong one in my notes. And I know we're not really, you guys, this is for entertainment purposes only, and we're not really supposed to go into health or marital issues. Mm-hmm. But this one I feel is kind of soft-spoken and not too prying. But Mr. Rick Kirby wants to know, will his current health condition improve or worsen in the coming years? And thanks to all, he says.
Okay, what I get is, I don't like this gift, but when I've seen it in people, I'll see a dark spot or a black spot, and when I see that, I've never seen anyone survive. I don't like having the gift, and when I see black in someone, I usually have to take the next day off because it really bothers me, and I cry a lot because even though I've tried to give people hope, I just never see it. But the person you're talking about, when I connect with his energy and his chakras, I don't see anything black in there. And when I don't see anything black, I feel like he can, I definitely feel his diet, like if he really studies diet and changes his diet, he's going to definitely change a lot in his life. But he will find out a way. He will keep researching, and he'll find it. I want to say that I feel like I definitely see him managing it, if not curing it. You know what I mean? I definitely see, because I feel like his passion and his drive really will, because I feel like he has a lot of reasons to get healthy again. So I feel like that's going to, as long as he focuses on the reasons he wants to get in a better place, the universe will start bringing him answers left and right. Like, he'll watch a movie on nutrition, and he'll be like, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to start changing this about my life. But I definitely see, I feel like there's a very good vibe in his energy, and I see improvement. It's going to be a slow road, and it's going to take quite a while, but I definitely see that I'm hearing the word overcome.
Awesome.
He'll be able to overcome it. Yeah, I'm getting tickles all over. Yeah.
Well, Susie,
awesome.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate you being here. Can you give us your website and maybe a number to reach you on for readings, etc.?
Sure. My business is in downtown Gilbert, Arizona, and my website is Mystic Journeys with a Z at the end.com. And if you'd like to call me, my phone number is 480-626-1077. Again, my number is 480-626-1077. And you can either talk to me live to make an appointment, or you can go on my website, mysticjourneys.com, and you can book it online as well.
Thank you so much again, Suzie, for coming out. It was an amazing, awesome show, and I've learned so much, and you did such a great job, and I know everyone in the chat room really appreciated having you out, and I hope they reach out to you, and I want to thank you again so much for coming on the show so last minute. Have such a good night, Suzie.
Awesome.
Okay, hold on one second, and I'll be right back with you, Suzie. I'm going to do our outro real quick, and I just wanted to thank everyone in SOR, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, and wherever else in the universe you may be listening. I had a wonderful time. It was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it all again next Sunday on Spaced Out Sundays here at spacedoutradio.com. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my space cases, and don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we own the night. Thanks so much for coming out again. You guys have a wonderful night and an amazing week. And I can't wait to talk to you guys and hear from you next week. You guys have a great week. Night-night.